sun's getting up to rise soon. You and I danced till dawn. Left our hearts with our shoes, back with our favorite song. When the night ends, will we still bleed as one? Only time knows. Soon as we face the sun. 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 You and I talked till morning, dreamed about what could be, wrapped up in each other, deep in our fantasy. But when the night ends, will we still stay or run? Only time knows. Soon as we face the sun. 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 Soon as we face the sun.
Sitting in the sunshine, some on my mind. I gotta tell you now, you gotta hear it somehow. Baby, you're the sunshine, every single given ray. Baby, you're the whole pie, down to the last slice. Baby, you're the flame, dreams are made of. Don't be afraid to show it off, show it off. Show us who you are. When I see you in the shadows, I wanna help you feel the rays. When I see you in the shallows, like a deep in your soul, show you the way. You are the star of your movie. You are the one in control. You're gonna get tired of holding on, so baby, let go, let go. Baby, you're the sunshine, every single given ray. Baby, you're the whole pie, down to the last slice. Baby, you're the flame, dreams are made of. Don't be afraid to show it off, show it off. Show us who you are. Sitting on the front line, wanna lifting up my back. Love isn't on the line, does it under attack? What we gotta fight for, we all want a little bit in this lifetime. Love is not a battlefield, love is a lifeline. Baby, you're the sunshine, baby, you're the sunshine. Every single giving, every single day. Baby, you're the whole pie, baby, you're the whole pie. Down to the last slide, down to the last slide. Baby, you're the flame, baby, you're the flame. Dreams are made of. Don't be afraid to show it off, show it off. Show us who you are. Baby, you're the sunshine, sunshine. Baby, you're the rays. Baby, you're the whole pie, down to the last side. Baby, you're the whole pie, you're the flame. Dreams are made of, dreams are made of. Don't be afraid to show it off, show it off. Show us who you are.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, chaotic, transformative, uncertain world of ours. This is Metaphysical Meetup with Marc live here on the Intuitive Prospector page. How is everybody doing on this Friday? As I like to say, grab your coffee, grab your tea. We're going to do a little exploration and prospecting for spiritual tools for the toolbox. Just like a plumber has tools, a carpenter has tools, a lawyer has tools, a judge has tools, a police officer has tools, a firefighter has tools. And it's no different for the journey of life, is to be able to navigate the many intricate pathways that life throws at us. And I can tell you that life never asks us what we want. We go out and we bend the reality based on our own intentions and what we manifest for our heart's desires. So life just happens, and it's up to us about how we want to navigate that. So I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. I try to be here on Fridays. If I can, let me just make sure we're broadcasting. So I'm the host, I'm the editor, I'm the DJ. The music today was Face the Sun by Jenna Bell and Show Us Who You Are by Veronica May. These are artists that I promote because their work they share with me. So there's no copyright or infringements or trademarks. So all of my music I use, whether it's on my shows, on my podcasts, is always trademark free, royalty free, that kind of thing. But I always want to promote. So again, the first song was called Face the Sun because it is summer. Summer in Seattle. It's been very nice here. And also, her name is Jenna Bell, if you want to check her out. And then, of course, Show Us Who You Are by Veronica May, because the two songs are all about the sunshine and getting out in sunshine, which is a big part of healing and transformation. So if you're new to the show, Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, most Fridays, if I'm traveling or I'm in a workshop or teaching, then I usually can't do both. But I try to come on here as my time and my way to give back, to pay it forward, to inspire, to encourage, to motivate, to think outside the box. So if you want to become a subscriber, two ways to do that. You can go right here to marclainhart.com, click on the events tab or the subscribe and store where you can purchase everything from my Lavender Love to cool t-shirts. You can become a subscriber through the Diamonds Hub network, which is here on through the Facebook platform. You can also join my Patreon Prospectors, which is outside of social media. That's through Patreon, and it's a great way to get insight. Plus, as a subscriber, every month, the first Friday of every month is Diamonds Days, where you can get readings for guidance, inspiration, transformation, healing, all of that good stuff. So it's another reason to become a subscriber. You can get my book, latest book, called Reflections Between Worlds, where I talk about all of my journey of psychic and near death and spirituality and just the journey I've been on for the last 2 decades, how it changed me through death and trauma, or what I say trauma and tragedy, that blew my life up several years ago with the tragic loss of both my brothers in the same week, my father-in-law, all to from everything from murder to brain cancer to multiple sclerosis, experienced all of that, right? But that's part of life, right? And what it did for me is it changed and it transformed me. It changed my brain. It changed how I see the world. My perception of reality, my perception is not the actual reality of perception. There is a difference there. But today I want to talk about, we've been talking in group. I have an awesome tribe every week. We meet online. We've got students from Canada, UK, United States. And, with everything going on in the world, there's a lot of anxiety. So we worked the last 2 weeks, we've been working on an anxiety toolkit. And I want to share some things with you today that might benefit you in your journey. And, you don't know until you go prospecting, right? I always go back to Einstein, one of the smartest cats on the planet at his time. I'm not sure he was from this planet, but he always talked about that he didn't have any special skills. He just said that he was over passionately curious. And I've really resonated with that statement because I too don't feel like I have any special skills, lots of education, but how am I using that today as a retiree? But I do relate to the curiosity of life, to what is seen, to what is unseen, death and dying, spiritual awakening, caterpillar to butterfly, extra dimensional beings, dimensional timelines, Bigfoot, Loch Ness, you name it, plant medicines. I'm curious about everything. And I've been spending the last 2 decades of my life exploring and prospecting, using my intuition to prospect in many different modalities and experiences and soul adventures that are out there, and then sharing that with you, writing about it, podcasting about it. So if that's something you're interested in doing, then join us here on Fridays for Metaphysical Meetup. Visit me at marclainhart.com for upcoming events, to book a reading, to get into a workshop, to get on my newsletter, which will be rolling out here in just a few days for July, the July newsletter. So, but today I want to talk about anxiety, because, in this masterclass that we've been watching, I love the masterclass platform. You get to just sit and learn from such amazing teachers. And one is a neuroscientist, and the other one is a well-known psychologist. And they're talking about the world of anxiety, how just there's different types of anxiety, and how life itself, just being in the human consciousness, the human experience, brings forth anxiety. And then if you start having a spiritual awakening, or you're experiencing things through your dreamscape, or just knowing things, that can really bring anxiety, and things that I had to work through and be mentored on. And it's a quote from Rumi. And make sure to say hi, where you're coming in from. Love to hear where you're from. We've got people tuning in all around the globe, and love to give you a shout out if can, especially if you're one of my subscribers. I'll give you a shout out. Patreon, Prospector, or Diamonds Hub. You have a badge next to your name, or if I don't see that badge, just say, hey, I'm one of your subscribers, give you a shout out. I may do a reading or two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But Rumi said this: half of life is lost in charming others. The other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play, you have played enough. And that's the quote from Rumi. And I was thinking about that when we were going through what's called the anxiety toolkit, the toolbox, having tools for the toolbox, like I said. And I love Rumi. He's a 12th century mystic poet from the area of the world that we would know as Iraq, Iran today. Philosopher that's his knowledge and his wisdom has transferred through several generations. And I started thinking about that. You're right, that half of my life was trying to be accepted, trying to charm others, including my own family. That's a lot of my family dynamics were rooted in that, in trying to prove yourself, or prove yourself to your family that you're worthy. And a lot of times the other half is lost through going through the anxieties, including family, including friends, and including work colleagues, what have you. That the other half is anxieties caused by others. And so what he talks about in this philosophical perspective, I would say, is that we're just engaging in superficial concerns or external pursuits that distract us from true fulfillment. And this took me years to understand, lots of, setbacks and, hitting rock bottom. But when you have a setback, you can also have a step up. When you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And, it's taken me, 53 plus years on this planet to come to this realization. And I want to share that with you today. Plus, I'm going to be offering a meditation for some self-healing that I've done. This is my own meditation. You can get this over on Insight Timer. I believe it's on my YouTube channel as well. But before we get into more of the details about what Rumi was talking about, especially as we're engaging in superficial concerns and external pursuits that distract us from true fulfillment, you see it in the world. You see it through social media. When I said that I would start doing this through my podcast, Inspired Living, or through social media, that I wanted to have platforms of positivity and authenticity. And what you see is what you get. A human filled with lots of mistakes, lots of errors, lots of bad judgments, but that's part of life. A lot of my human experience too is inspiring and fulfilling and saving lives and helping others, so it's the balance of it, right? But when we get caught up in trying to charm others, our first half from our, early childhood to probably our mid-teens, science is even saying that we usually don't reach true adulthood until we're into our 30s, right? So if I'm reaching true adulthood in my 30s, that means that I've only been an adult for about 20 some years, right? So it's interesting. But when you think about it, when half of our life is lost in charming others, and then the other half is spent going through anxieties caused by others, it's time to leave this play. It's a circus. It's, my wife and I talk about, the things that I've gone through this last year, from my retirement to my career to my legal lawsuit that I'm involved in. It's, hold on and get dragged, or let go and be free. Now she's going through it, right? She's going through some of her own transformation, what life throws at us. And, it really is. It's not our monkey. It's not our circus. And there's a whole bunch of circus shows out there. There's a whole bunch of monkeys running around just chaotic, just like the monkeys that are in our mind. And, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I've survived long enough. Now it's time to start living. And that's where I'm at in the point of my life. I've had 4 major surgeries. I'm going to have another one coming up in just over a year. Since last April, I've had 4 major surgeries, and that has been transformative. It also gives you perspective and awakening and healing and transformation. But one of the things I want to remind you is sometimes some of the most spiritual things that you can do is just have fun too. Live the human experience and be aware of anxiety so you can manage it and deal with it on a daily basis. But stop charming others. If you've spent your life charming others, you're not living your authentic, true self, and you're not reaching your true fulfillment of who you are. It's that first part where he talks about half of life is lost in charming others. What it suggests that it's a significant portion of our time is dedicated to seeking that approval or admiration from others, which can lead us away from our authentic self-awareness and our inner peace, who we are. And I did this for most of my life, like I said, through family, through friends. I had a dad, a real dad that, abandonment is a big thing for me. A real dad that didn't want me, family dynamics and functions that were fractured and lots of marriages. And, it's just not something that I, choose to live my life, and no judgment or opinion. Those are other people's decisions and choices, but it's not something that I wanted to be a part of. And it's obviously a reflection, and, just celebrated my 30th anniversary with my wife, Jenny. Have we had our struggles? Of course, but it's about how you keep going. You can rest, but you can't quit, right? And so sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just have fun. So I'm going to be sharing a meditation with you here in just a few minutes. This is, again, my meditation. Everything is copyright free, so you can share this out, including the visual that I put together. And I hope that you enjoy it. So again, if you want to learn more about the journey, the podcast, Inspired Living now is now syndicated. We have amazing guests booked all the way out through almost the end of the year now. So it's pretty fun to show up. Had a great show this last Wednesday, talking with a couple that wrote a book called The Orchid and the Secret Code of Unlocking Your Goddess. And it was a very fascinating and inspirational show. So if you want to check out Inspired Living, you can get Inspired Living wherever you get your favorite podcast, including Alexa, including Audible. You can follow it on the YouTube channel. I just actually uploaded the latest episode on my YouTube channel, if you want to give that a follow. And again, thank you to the YouTube followers. You've put us now over almost 41,000 subscribers. So thank you for that. Thank you for the interest in the work and the journey and the writings and the podcasts. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I'm very honored and humbled for us to be recognized as a best inspirational podcast and now a best spiritual podcast. So these are national rankings and based on feedback and downloads and reviews. And so thank you for that. And I'll keep doing my best to bring out, the positivity and the positive ripple effects to finding the diamond within, but also finding the many hidden gems that are all around us if we dare to dream, if we dare to explore, if we dare to live and, go prospecting for what many things life can offer us. And I do want to just say, I wasn't on last week because I was traveling, went back for graduation. So big shout out to my nephew, Aiden, who graduated from high school. I was able to see some family members and hang out a little bit. So I wasn't able to be on the air last week. But I also want to share with you, after 3.5 years, after a delay because of all my surgeries, I passed my final board. So I'm now not only certified here in America as a psychic medium, but I'm now also accredited as a psychic medium through the Spiritual National Union. I went through my final board on June 4th. Pretty intense, 30-minute oral board with 3 people, 3 reviewers. Then had to do a divine service and give an opening prayer. Had to give a 10-minute philosophy, which was based on the hand of God and Adam touching God and how the hand of God reaches out with his finger fully extended, and then we fall short. Like we're not really wanting to extend out to make that divinity connection. So that was what the philosophy was on. And I talked about that. And then I had to bring forth 2 links in mediumship with evidence of a person that's passed through death, but is still very much alive on the other side. And for the recipients, there's about 45 people in the audience, and 2 people stepped forward and were able to validate the information that I was giving. And after all that, then I sat in the breakout room for 20 minutes as they talked to the people that I connected with for, factual evidence and information. And then was told that I had passed everything very well. So now I can add that to an accreditation for what I do. And why do I say that? Not from a vanity standpoint, not from an ego standpoint, just to the fact that, if you want to go after the things that you want to go after, put yourself through the failures, put yourself through the testing, put yourself through the nervousness and the butterflies to be, like I said, whether you're in a trade like plumbing or carpentry, there's things that you have to maintain. If you're a pilot, if you're a lawyer, a medical doctor, a musician, there, it's the same thing in the spiritual pathway. And so for me, it was supposed to be a 3-year program. It got turned into a 4-year program because they gave me a medical extension because of all last year's surgeries. But having that stress and those butterflies, and even in the course I talked about this a few weeks ago about, when you have that nervousness, reframe it and talk about getting your butterflies flying in formation, right? Versus the what if world, or I'm a failure, I can't do that. So that doesn't help you in what you're trying to accomplish. And so now after, 4 years, I can say publicly and professionally that I'm now accredited in both speaking and demonstrating in the philosophies of spiritualism, psychic, and mediumship. And it's just something I wanted to do. There's no, I had to pay for it, but there's no money value added back. I'm not getting paid to be accredited, but I wanted to say to people when I went down this road to say I'm a psychic or a medium or intuitive coach or a spiritualist, that I wanted to be the best ambassador, to have the highest certifications I could, but there's still more to go. This is lifelong learning, and I maybe not crawling so much anymore. Maybe I'm starting to stumble like a toddler, but just keep moving forward with learning. And once growth stops, decay begins, and so this becomes lifelong learning. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that supported me, held space for me, my tribe, my colleagues, my friends, my family members that wished me good energy, and my wife, and just helping me to get this accreditation. And I challenge you to do the same. Go out and challenge yourself to see, actors talk about this a lot of times, the journey of failure. Yoda talked about this, Star Wars. Yoda talked about failure as our biggest teacher. And it's through the failures of the first attempt in learning is where we grow the most and really start to believe in ourselves and become the confident beings that we are through our soul adventures, through our experiences, through our failures and our successes. Failure, again, is first attempt to learn, but you keep going. So let me get over to the Facebook page, give some shout outs for those of you that are tuning in. Love to hear from you, where you're from. Let's see here. Let's go over to the Prospector page. There we are. All right. So good morning. A few of you turned in. Hi, Tara. Good to see you. I know there was a couple people, but the feed just refreshed. So put a comment in if you deal with anxiety. If you're interested in the journey of how to be aware of anxiety, how to navigate the many pathways of anxiousness, just what life throws at us, right? Could be your career, could be your relationship, could be your health. I know I just went in for my MRI yesterday, and I've faced a lot of things in my journey, but for some reason I just had high anxiety because I'm a bigger guy, and so I went to an open MRI. So they used to put me in the tube. I literally had to crunch my shoulders and then be put in this tube to where your face is like right here, getting your MRI and the loud sound. And now I have a special one that I can go to. The last 2 MRIs that I've had where it's more open based, and so you can rest your arms out like this and they slide you in. But it's still, just dealing with that anxiety. It's like, how do I deal with, I feel like I'm being buried alive. And then you get into your mind, and then your mind takes you down that rabbit hole. And so, I had a mask on, I had a headset on, and I was breathing, and okay, I have to have this MRI because I have to have one more back surgery later this year, or maybe next year. We'll see how that goes. But dealing with anxiety is a big thing. And so, if you're being caused by anxiety just by life, that's just a normal process of being alive as a human, right? But when Rumi was talking about this, about, half of life is lost on charming others, the other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play, you have played enough. So again, stop surviving and start living, because some of the most spiritual thing you can do is just have fun in life. And that's taken me a while to understand that. So today, like I talked about, when we are playing in this circus and when we're showing up to somebody else's circus, and you see it right now in modern society: politics, government, the rule of law, things that are unfolding around the world, wars, and that can cause a lot of anxiety, but we can't control that, right? We can only control how we respond to our external world and our internal world. And so, it also, the big thing I think is, when you're seeking approval from others or you're trying to charm others, it does lead us away from our authentic selves, our self-awareness of who we are. I think, therefore I am. And of course, your inner peace. So if you don't have inner peace, it's probably because you're caught up in the world events, or you're caught up in drama that you shouldn't really be trying to charm others or seek approval from others. And I've always had that adage, and I've lived this I know this to be true. Sometimes there's a manipulation that takes place, especially within families, especially within certain work relationships or certain friendships. There's a manipulation, and I can tell you, once you stop buying into manipulation or stop being manipulated, the old saying is, once manipulation stopped, rejection usually begins, and that person will reject you. And I've seen this a few times in my own journey. And so you have to decide, do you want to continue being manipulated, or you're like, no, I want to start doing what Marc said and start living my authentic self, have better self-awareness and have that inner peace. Because Rumi said in the second part, the other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. And what he says in that quote, it highlights how interactions with others, especially today, whether through a social media or over the phone or through a computer or through a Zoom screen, what have you, when you interact with others, especially worries or misunderstandings or conflicts, it can cause additional suffering, and it can drain our energy and lead you down to the anxiety of just having bad health. And I know that I went through that. Mental health too, not just physical. I'm not just talking physical part. I'm talking mental health, your auric field health, your spiritual health, your higher self health, and especially with how we communicate. Our communication has transformed. If you think about it, we used to talk to one another. Now it's through an email or through a text, and those are very subjective. I think our communication is going to evolve even more, but we're also, as a species, we're evolving through our communications and how we communicate. The podcast was actually, the book, The Orchid, was interesting because one of our biggest pieces of communication is storytelling. Before reading and writing, many cultures passed on stories through accurate storytelling. And how things can go awry when you change the story or you change the narrative. But a lot of our communications today can heighten that suffering or that draining of energy or increased in anxiety, because again, you get an email and that person maybe sent it with the best intentions, but you receive it subjectively and go, oh, that person's a jerk, right? But if you were talking to the person like this, instead of behind a keyboard, there's an energy exchange. You can see facial expressions, there's body energy, and that's hard to do with an email. So it becomes very subjective, or a text, very subjective. People break up and marriages via text, via emails, which is, horrible and shallow. And I am being a little judgmental there. But, when you stop showing up to the circus, you bought a ticket to this show, that's up on you. You bought the ticket to attend this circus to see all the craziness and the monkeys and whatever the show ends up being for you. But when you leave this play, or when you leave this circus based on free will and choice, and you realize you played enough and you don't need to survive anymore, you can start living, what that quote offers is a gentle nudge towards spiritual awakening, or self-realization, or self-awareness of who you truly are. And it also encourages us to move beyond superficial pursuits. And anxiety is recognizing that the true contentment lies beyond external validation or worldly distractions. And we see a lot of that right now. I feel like overall Rumi urges us to transcend these concerns and seek a deeper, more meaningful human existence. Again, we're really good at human doing. We're really bad at human being. And so I wanted to share that with you today, and some things that you can work on for your own anxiety, create your own anxiety toolkit for a daily basis. One of the things that we practiced on Wednesday was the high-low gratitude. At the end of the day, what was your high? what was your low, and what you're grateful for. And what that does, moving into gratitude, can really help with the healing journey and the transformation journey to find the diamond within. And so that's something that I've incorporated. What was a good in your day? Or when I open up my eyes today, there's a lot of people around the world on average, and I've done past shows and podcasts and written about this. On average, there's about 150,000 people around the world that don't open their eyes through different means, through different portals of death and dying. And so that's always kind of stuck with me, right? 150,000 on average. Take out pandemics or wars, on average, about 150,000. So if you break that down, that's, I don't know how many an hour, break 150,000 down, divide that, it's a lot. And so just having that gratitude to be here today, because the present moment is the only thing that is happening right now. Future's not guaranteed, can't change the past, right? And that old adage, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's the gift. That's why we often refer to it as the present moment. It is the present that's being delivered. So one of those exercises you can use is called the high-low gratitude. At the end of the day, what was your high? What was your low, and what were you grateful for? And you don't need to necessarily have a low. You can be like, my day was good. So you don't have to say, okay, this was my high and this was grateful. Or maybe you had a bunch of lows and be like, this was my lows, but where could you find the moment in learning from that low lesson, right? Because life does teach us, and it's all about our perspective. And I've always said that the strength in spirituality is our ability to shift our perspectives. And so, when you're working on your own anxiety and moving beyond superficial concerns involving a combination of self-awareness, self-care, spiritual or mental practices, these are some suggestions that I've worked with my students, myself, the training that I've received is just to practice mindfulness and meditation. These techniques are ancient. I've worked with these for a long time, mindfulness, meditations. I'm now working with plant medicines. Become aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. You can it's okay to allow your thoughts to come in, but you don't have to believe in all your thoughts and be like, that felt kind of crappy, but I'm gonna let that pass through. Put it in the river. I always have a mental river that, the river's always moving, and you can't stand in the same river twice, right? So when I have a bad thought, I'll acknowledge it, accept it, and I actually visualize myself taking that thought and put it in the river so it can go on its way. I don't sit and marinate with it, but a lot of people sit and marinate with that same thought over and over again. We have about 50 to 60,000 thoughts per day based on scientific means, based on scientific research. What's sad is about 90% of the population continues to think that same thought over and over again, like Groundhog Day, So, when you practice mindfulness and meditation, we're going to do a meditation for you here. It's about 15 minutes, so you start getting ready for that. But regular practice, I found, can reduce anxiety, increase presence, and help you connect with your true, authentic self or your higher self. Self-compassion, give yourself compassion, give yourself grace. This person. Neighbor's doing something. Don't hit my fence. Self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when experiencing anxiety. I had to say yesterday during my MRI, just be kind to yourself. Go to your happy place, Mark. Nothing bad's going to happen. But I just felt, a little bit claustrophobic, which, maybe I'm just getting older and I've had a lot of surgeries and had a lot of, medical stuff, and maybe that's increased some anxiety. But I had to come back to myself to be like, just have a little bit of self-compassion for yourself. Recognize that it's a human experience and doesn't define your worth or your identity, right? Identify your triggers. This is something I've worked on the last several years through many different modalities of counseling, spiritual counseling, biofeedback, hypnotherapy, plant medicines. Notice what situations, thoughts, or interactions tend to cause your anxiety, those triggers, and then understanding that these triggers can help you develop the strategies, reframing. I talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago about getting your butterflies flying in formation and how you reframe that. Yeah, it's okay to be nervous. Maybe you will fail, maybe you won't, but get your butterflies that come down here in the solar plexus, get your butterflies flying in formation. And when you reframe something, then of course, everything, when you change, and Dr. Wayne Dyer talked about this, he wrote about this, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at start to change. And there's really truth in your reality of bending your own reality based on your thoughts. And so when you identify your triggers, you can develop strategies to help manage them. You may not overcome it right away, but managing it is a big part of dealing with anxiety, managing it to be better, to be healthier, and to understand that anxiety is a natural part of life. Focusing on your inner values, clarify to you what truly matters to you the most, your passions, your purpose, why are you here, your values, aligning your actions with your authentic self can reduce the need for external validation. And that was a big part of my journey, was trying to find validation in things that had to come from other people, family members specifically. And when you focus on your inner values and you clarify what truly matters to you, then that rest of that stuff becomes noise, and you're no longer buying a ticket to the circus. You're no longer buying a ticket to that play. And that's a big accomplishment for overcoming anything. Limit external validation. This is something I've worked on the last few years, is, reduce the time spent seeking approval from others. Sometimes it's a practice of isolation, getting out in nature, practicing self-acceptance, and trusting your own judgment. Trust your intuition, right? We talk about tuition investing in schools and institutions to better yourself in life. You should also do the same with your intuition, investing in yourself. Let go of control. You can see it right here. I have this as a reminder from Buddha. You need to let that shit go. And, when you let go of control, a lot of it is ego-based. And you have to have ego to survive. And again, that first half of your life is developed on developing the ego to survive in this crazy world. But when you let go of control and you accept that you can't control everything, you can only control to the things that are happening to you, both externally and internally, then, especially with other people's opinions, people's opinions are like eyebrows and elbows. And almost everybody has them. Not everybody, but almost everybody. But cultivating this acceptance of letting go of control can also reduce, and is a great tool for the toolkit, or your anxiety toolkit. And then, of course, the spiritual or philosophical reflection, which has helped me greatly. Like Rumi's poetry. I use Rumi's poetry all the time, engaging in philosophical and reflecting on to know thyself. And it can offer comfort, it can offer inner peace, it can offer a different perspective that you didn't think about, but helping you see beyond your immediate worries, your immediate limitations. And one of the things I love to remind people in the spiritual journey, not just what Rumi said, but we are limited only by the depth of our imagination and the strength of our conviction. And I found that to be very, very truthful in this journey of who we are and what we're doing. So the last one is, and this is a big one, seek support, seek community, seek tribe. Like I said, I've got a great weekly tribe that helps me paint perspectives and help with healing, especially this last year with all my surgeries. My plant medicine community that helps me see a completely different perspective, and working with ancient plant medicines and understanding that healing, that connection to Mother Earth, grandmother, however you want to refer to that divinity connection. But when you seek support, what it does, if anxiety is feeling overwhelming, consider talking with, of course, a professional mental health expert, which they can support your needs. They can tailor it to your needs, if you will. And I know I've done that. There's hotlines out there now for mental health and suicidal ideations. So just remember that this process is a gradual process, and being patient, there's power in patience, practicing the pause, being compassionate with yourself and giving yourself grace is the key to all of this. And, moving beyond anxiety and superficial concerns takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. I've been working on this for a few years now. But when you have that consistent effort, when you have that discipline and that dedication and that drive, again, you can get tired and rest, but don't quit. Each small step helps get you closer to that inner peace, your higher self, and your fulfillment of why you're here. So we're going to do a meditation. So if you want to join me, hi, Miss C. Hi, Tara. Hi, Colleen. Good to see you all. Hi, Marcella. Good to see you. Hi, Sheena. Just giving some shout outs. Again, if you want to learn more about me, go to marclainhart.com or internet search Intuitive Prospector. There's a lot of stuff that I offer now, so including from books to podcasts to newsletters to articles to booking readings. But what I wanted to do is also just give some Rumi quotes, and then we're going to move into the meditation, and then I may do a reading. We'll see how I'm feeling. But the first one is quote, and these are all Rumi quotes, and I looked these up as to help me with today's show. Rumi quotes I have found offer comfort. It could be like the Bible for, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. There's a big difference between the two, and we can talk about that at a different time. But there are even times in the Bible that I can go back to. I know my scripture pretty well. I was certified as an adult in one of the religions that I was brought up in. I don't practice that religion. I'm now accredited in a different spiritual pathway. But referring to ancient knowledge and wisdom, whether it's the Hindu Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Bible, the King James Bible, wherever you're at in the world, right? The Quran. There's top 10 religions that we've looked at, and each one of them have their own scripture. But there's words in there that can really encourage you, or inspire you, or motivate you, or give you that deeper perspective. And the one that Rumi talks about, that reminds us that challenges and anxieties can be the gateways to growth and understanding. Again, loss, trauma, tragedy, the challenges that we face can be that gateway, can be that stepping stone to deeper understanding about yourself and your place in this world. And he says this: the world is the place where the light enters you. It also says, don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. Again, this was back in the 12th century, y'all. Encourages acceptance and trust in the flow of life, reducing anxiety about loss or uncertainty. And we all have dealt with loss. We've all dealt with uncertainty. But again, don't grieve that. Honor your grief. If you've lost family, friends, fur babies, like I have, I honor them. I grieve them, but I honor my grief by living the best I can, living for them, doing the things that remind me of them, and knowing that anything that we lose, we don't lose. It comes around in a different form. When your soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't matter. And what he talked about was emphasizing presence and letting go of mental chatter and worries. Most of the stuff that we think about, 95% of that doesn't come into reality, doesn't manifest or come into fruition. So you're wasting a lot of time just on things that don't matter or don't happen anyway. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. And what he talks about is inspiring that trust, that internal trust, your inner guidance, that inner radar system. It's like a plane uses, right? You have that same radar system. And, not getting caught up in external fears. And I always say fear is false evidence appearing real. And when I have faith, when I have fear energy, like I did yesterday going into the MRI, I had to say, you know what, this is false evidence appearing real, because I'm in my mind and I'm having this mindset that I'm being buried alive. And it wasn't that at all. And I had to say, you know what, fear, reframe, face everything and rise. And then, of course, be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. I love that one, because that's a metaphor for releasing worries, fears, and anxieties that no longer serve you, no longer punching a ticket to the circus, no longer punching a ticket to the play. Just like the trees outside my studio, I'm surrounded by trees. They lose their leaves every cycle, but yet here we are in summer and they're right back, letting go. So, be like a tree and let those dead leaves drop. Silence is the language of God. Whatever or whoever God is for you, I let you define that. I don't try to tell people what God is. I do know that there is life after death based on the thousands of readings I've done, the experiences I've had, the connections I've made, and through different modalities. But I don't know if I could actually define the divinity, both masculine and feminine, that does exist on the other side of what we call the physical life. Because your heart is energy, and energy always has to go somewhere. So it doesn't cease. For those of you that are, agnostic, seeking proof, for those of you that are atheists, I always try to bring my spiritual perspective based on science and what we know. And we know, as the laws of physics today, that energy always has to travel somewhere. And it's the same energy that's in your heart, but nobody knows where that energy comes from. And I was in healthcare for 25 years, and none of my teachers could ever explain where that generation of energy that makes the heart go, that gives us this material, external human experience. Because again, it goes back to that we're energetic, spiritual beings first, that have incarnated in to have a physical experience and then move on to that next, whatever that may be. But, silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. And what that suggests is that, the inner peace and that divine connection, it's in our DNA. You don't even have to take my word for it. You can actually take if you get a chance, take your DNA. They've done studies where they take the DNA, and these are the things that we talk about in my spiritual development group, right? The divinity within. You always hear about the divinity of Jesus. If there's a really great book that I've read to give me perspective, it's literally called The Lost Years of Jesus. And it was written back in the 80s, but it's a perspective of what Jesus was teaching at the time was not that he was the divinity, that he was the way to God, that the divinity was in you. And if you look at your DNA and you take a slice of the DNA, which we've sequenced and coded the DNA now, so we understand it, but if you put that under a microscope and you slice that DNA and look under a microscope, it represents the flower of life, the Fibonacci sequence, the divinity of within. So it's within our own DNA. It's in our own divinity of connection, that same energy that's in the heart, the divine spark is what it's often referred to. So, when you have that divine connection through stillness, through reducing mental noise and anxiety, one of the things I have right here as a reminder is this is an anagram. So the word listen, if you take the letters and use all the letters and rearrange them, the word becomes silent. So listen and silent have two different meanings, but all contain the same letters. And Rumi would always talk about that. The more silent still you become, the more you'll actually start to hear. And I didn't understand that for years until I actually applied the discipline and the practice and the dedication of meditations, sitting in the power, qigong, going, wow, there's a whole world out here that my ego had blinded me from. And of course, last is don't invest in anything that can leave you behind in a funeral. And I love that because it's a reminder to focus on what truly matters beyond material or superficial pursuits. So those are just some quotes that I wanted to finish up with today. And again, the quote is, half of life is lost on charming others. The other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play. You have played enough. And so I hope that makes sense. Good to see you. Hi, Moya. Hi, Marcella. Let me know where you're from. If you want to get on if you want to subscribe, be a subscriber, follow me on YouTube, follow the podcast, whatever, get on the newsletter. My next newsletter is coming out here in just a few days. I'm almost done writing it. But now we're going to move into a meditation, and this is about 15 minutes. This will take us to about 11:30, which I have to end at 11:30 because I have a reading at noon. And I would love to, work with you on just, if you go to my website, peruse my website, there's a lot of hidden diamonds in there. There's a lot of gems from the Diamonds Library, interviews I've done. But it's not just about doing a reading for you anymore. I've learned in my growth and my own transformation, I used to do a lot of psychic readings, a lot of mediumship readings. Now I'm doing more mentorship and intuitive coaching, but also working on the healing, because one of the things that I want to remind folks is that a healer is not someone, this is what I always thought, that you had to go to a person to be healed. A healer is not someone that you go for healing. A healer is someone that triggers within you your own ability to heal yourself. And that's what I've really become. People can say I'm a healer, but I'm a teacher that helps you to trigger, to unlock, because you heal from within, not from without. I mean, there's things, like I said, from my surgery to my medications, there are definitely a role in the material world and man-made products like narcotics that help with pain, or anesthesia to be able to go under the knife 4 times. But at the end of the day, the healing is internal. And when you go to a healer, a good healer will tell you that they may trigger within you that ability to heal yourself. They're not going to heal you, right? You see a lot of you healed. I believe that we can share energy through our auric field and we can hold space for others. But at the end of the day, it's also personal responsibility. It's also your free will and choice to heal. And I think good healers can they can tee that up for you, but then it's up to you. That's your own personal responsibility. So, what I want to do with this next 15 minutes, this is a meditation that I did. I recorded it a few years ago, and it's called a Path to Self-Healing. And I just want you to take the next few minutes to really just tune into yourself, to let go, to let God, if that's your journey, if you believe in God. If not, then maybe your higher self, or to know thyself, to have reflection, to try to find that inner peace that I'm talking about, to give yourself grace and compassion and empathy for what you've endured and what we're all enduring in this very crazy world of ours. But I hope that this has helped in today's show. And let's get ready to do that. Let's go prospecting. Let's go prospecting to find the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us. So everybody take a nice, deep, collective breath. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining us. Again, I'll be here most Fridays, if I can, if I'm not traveling, at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for Metaphysical Meetup with Marc. And we're now going to move into the next section, which is a guide to a meditation of self-healing, because you heal yourselves, and hopefully I'm the teacher and the healer that helps trigger for you to start healing thyself and to know thyself. So let me get queued up. And I hope you enjoyed this meditation. And you can also get this meditation off my website or an insight timer. All right, nice deep breath. Let's go prospecting.
Hello, my name is Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, and I want to just say thank you for joining me on today's soul adventure as we dare to dream, dare to explore, and dare to live through the many aspects of mind, body, and spirit. Take a moment to just connect into the magic of the moment, relaxing, sitting down for a nice meditation as we explore pathways to self-healing. Taking in a nice, deep, cleansing, healing, peaceful breath. Move into the magic of the moment and exhale. Allowing the mind to calm, to rest, to rejuvenate, and to reflect. We can do this through the power of breath on our journey of self-healing and the many pathways to healing. Taking another nice deep breath in, breathing in what you want, exhaling what you don't. Always pay attention to the seasons and cycles of this external world, for they do influence our internal world. Self-healing, with many pathways to healing itself, are an open and curious journey through the human experience. And we can follow this journey daily with a pathway of healing to get to those better days in life with peace, joy, and happiness. Self-forgiveness is vital and an essential energy to the physical body, and to allow for self-healing to take root and obtain inner peace, that inner peace within, so that we may have peace with our external world. We may need to ask ourselves, something is off, not working, or needs to change. We refer to this as cognitive intuition, with the ability to ask ourselves that exact question of something is off, not working, or needs to change, and is one of the many traits that helps us to facilitate self-healing. We also have responsibility and ownership to be able to say to ourselves, I need to change. I want to change. This is also a trait that helps facilitate self-healing, and we call this self-mastery. To forgive thyself, we need to know thyself. And the ability to know ourselves at a deeper level, we can allow self-forgiveness and saying, thank you for the experience with grace and patience. This is a trait also known as true self-forgiveness, and knowing thyself at a deeper level. Saying thank you for the experience with grace and patience. There's also a life system that will enable us to maintain and ground us with viability and comfort, and will allow for continual reuse for the healing process as one of the many traits to facilitate self-healing. And we can access this anytime by simply saying, I feel safe, grounded, supported, and loved. This life system is also known as self-sustainability. And with continual reuse of this, we can move into deeper self-healing and facilitate a healing process within the human consciousness and the human journey. And through this process of self-healing, we may find ourselves stepping into our power, letting go and opening up the space of pain and filling it with, I forgive myself not just once, but again and again and again, and as many times as needed to finally feel peace, to move into the pathway to facilitate self-healing. In life, which many of us call learn it from experience, we also have the ability to accept and to move into acceptance of not knowing what we didn't see before we learned it through this experience of human consciousness. And be able to fail at this experience many times, failing often, failing daily, knowing that failure is a first attempt in learning. And we can do this by simply saying, I accept the gifts of learning, growth, and transformations so that I may continue on the pathways of life and facilitate the many pathways of self-healing. And as you take another nice deep breath in, breathing in what you want, exhaling what you don't, allowing the mind to retune, to readjust, to revive, and or to reflect. Just as a runaway car that cannot apply its own brakes, an overactive mind is always thinking and feeling. This requires a silent intention for healing connection to the source, simply stating, I take the time to disconnect so that I may reconnect to self. And we call this the conscious reset. Taking in another nice deep breath, breathing in peace, love, and healing, and letting go through a nice exhalation of stress, worry, doubt, and self-sabotage. We can now move into acceptance for what is by simply stating, I agree with life, I resist nothing, and I have everything that I need. And I will leave you now to continue to explore through mind, body, and spirit with the power of your breath to facilitate self-healing and the journey of life that is so much more. now. Again, breathing in self-healing and what you want for the journey ahead, and releasing and exhaling what no longer serves your higher self or your pathway. Always paying attention to the seasons and cycles of the external world, for they do influence our internal world. Take one more nice, deep, cleansing, healing, healthy, happy, inspiring breath. Thankful for the moment, an attitude for gratitude, and with a nice big sigh, just release everything, letting go. Ready to move on with your day, moving on with your life, and using the many traits and pathways to self-healing. Until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live.
All right, there you have it. That is the pathways to self-healing. Again, you can get that meditation over on my Insight Timer profile platform, marclainhart.com, Diamonds Library. I think it's in the Diamonds Library. But I hope that helps on the journey. And again, yeah, be kind, be caring, be compassionate in today's very interesting times. Buckle up, more to come. And of course, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live and discover that diamond within, but also the many, many hidden gems that are all around us if we just take the time to disconnect so we can make that time to reconnect. All right, my friends. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's message, which was the quote from Rumi that I'll close with that says this: half of life is lost in charming others. The other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play. You have played enough. And that's a quote from Rumi, or as I like to say, some of the most spiritual thing you can do is just have fun in life and no longer purchase a ticket to this crazy circus. So, all right, my friends. Again, if you want to work with me in the future, you can visit me at my website, marclainhart.com, internet search the Intuitive Prospector. We'll be back on the air in July. We have 2 great shows with great guests coming up in July for Inspired Living, and you'll want to get on my newsletter because there's some announcements coming up, including an interactive workshop called Experience the Etheric, attunement, blending, connecting, teaching now as an accredited and certified psychic medium, teaching others how to experience the etheric world. And I hope that's something that you're interested in. That'll probably start in August or September is what I'm looking at, so I can enjoy the summer as well. All right, my friends. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. As I always like to say, namaste, namago, and we'll be back next week for another Metaphysical Meetup with Marc live here on the Intuitive Prospector Facebook page. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I will close this out with a nice, what's a good song for us today? What's a good song to leave us with? Oh, let's go with well, I opened up with 2 sun songs, so let's finish up with Face the Sun by Johnny Houlihan. So I hope you enjoy. This is called Face the Sun. Have a great rest of your Friday, great weekend. See you next time. Ciao.
The This life sure has a sense of humor, a funny way of knocking you to the ground. It hits you hard when you least expect it, laughs the second that you were down. But in that moment when you feel like you're all alone, it's in that moment. I'll be there, right there to take you home. Let's go out and face the sun. Together we feel. Let's go out and face the sun. Let's go. Some days it's not easy to wake up. It's so hard just to be yourself. The cards can quickly stack up against you, lead you down a road running straight to hell. So don't let heaven slip away from you. Hold yourself up. I'll be your angel to see you through. This love is real. Let's go out and face the sun. This feels so real. Let's go out and face the sun. Let's go out and change the world. Shine brighter than we can imagine. The sun will always rise. Have faith, 'cause it's about to happen. So face the sun. Whoa, face the sun.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.